Finance Minister P. Chidambaram says the economy will revive in second half of current financial year. Aims at 5 to 5.5% growth in current fiscal. Pakistan's private sector asked their government to grant India most favoured nation status without delay, says peace and prosperity only way forward. New York reclaims 9/11 attack site. 4 World Trade Center becomes first skyscraper to open at the site of the New York terror attacks. And tale of two diamonds, the pink and the orange diamond, two of the world's most precious diamonds, sell for a combined sale of $118 million. Hello and welcome to Business Wrap on the last day of this week. I'm Sidhant, Sibal, and first the top stories. Confident of achieving 5 to 5.5% growth in current fiscal, Finance Minister P. Chidambaram today said that the green shoots are visible and measures taken by the government will help the economy achieve the potential growth rate of 8%. Addressing bankers and economists at the BankCon 2013, a flagship event of Indian Bankers Association, Chidambaram told the lenders to deal firmly with willful defaulters but handhold those who are reeling under the impact of economic slowdown. The economic growth rate has slipped to decades low of 5% in 12-13 financial period, and during the first quarter of current financial it stood at 4.4%. The growth figures for the second quarter are scheduled to be announced on November 29th. On the inflation front, he said that food prices are continuing to remain a challenge for the government. He said that there will be an upturn in the second half of this year. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram also promised bankers that they would not be prosecuted for wrong decision as long as they are taken with all existing facts and in the right forum. The Reserve Bank of India today attributed high interest rate regime to inflation and said banks in such a scenario would not be able to pass on lower rates even if the policy rate is brought down. The CPI inflation measured by the movement in the retail prices of food items soared to a 7-month high of 10.09% in October. WPI-based inflation too shot up to 8-month high of 7% in the same month. Meanwhile, RBI Deputy Governor K.C. Chakrabarti has said that time frame will be given on an individual basis for foreign banks to be allowed in the country.
No time. You see, at present, I don't think there is a time frame, and this is the thing. It will evolve over a period of time because they will prepare themselves. They have to give a plan, and I don't think existing foreign banks they need to convert also. There is no such compulsion.
After August 2010,
those who have come, they will happen. They will convert. Now they have no problem.
But there is no time frame as such in RBI.
No, time frame is individual case wise. It will be given. No, there is nothing because it depends on how many branches are there. What are the issues?
The State Bank of India, the country's largest lender, on Friday said it will be raising up to 5,000 crore rupees through bonds by the end of current financial year. Early this week, SBI said it plans to raise over 9,000 crore rupees in Tier 1 capital through qualified institutional placement to strengthen their core capital. Besides, the government has also promised to infuse 2,000 crore rupees through a preferential allotment of shares. More in what happened throughout the week in a special weekly wrap.
The week started on a positive note with good export numbers. Export grew yet again, this time at 13.5%. Imports have decreased by 14.5%. Overall impact of this is that the trade deficit has collapsed by almost 50% for October 2013 as compared to October 2012. Also, PepsiCo's CEO Indra Nooyi reaffirmed company's belief in India's growth story and said that it will be investing 33,000 crore rupees in India by 2020. Tuesday saw some good and some bad news. IIP for the month of September grew by 2%, which was at 0.6% in the previous month of this year. Manufacturing sector grew at 0.6%, but inflation was a worry. Retail inflation for the month of October stood at 10.09% as compared to 9.84% for the previous month of September 2013. Auto figures were also a dampener. Domestic sales declined by 3.88%, snapping a 2-month streak of positive growth. Meanwhile, Finance Minister stressed on need of an investigating agency to probe financial crimes. Wednesday brought in some cheer as the Reserve Bank said the current account deficit in 2013-14 will be $56 billion, much lower than the quantum projected earlier. Good news for Maharashtra as Prime Minister directed fast-tracking of 3 airports in the state. CCA approved 6-laning of Jalandhar-Amritsar section of NH1 in Punjab. Thursday saw British Prime Minister's one-day visit to India. During the visit, he praised Master Blaster Sachin Tendulkar. He also lauded India's reform process, but had some apprehensions like the Vodafone tax case. Inflation still remained a headache as costly food items, including vegetables, pushed the October wholesale inflation to 7%. Same day, Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said there are no easy answers to cool retail inflation. Meanwhile, in Delhi, President Pranab Mukherjee inaugurated the 33rd edition of India International Trade Fair at Pragati Maidan. The trade fair attracts a number of local as well as foreign exhibitors. Globally, Janet Yellen, Obama's pick for next Fed chief, strongly defended the central bank's policy of buying bonds before the Senate confirmation hearing. The day also saw the start of God, which is Sachin Tendulkar's 200th and the last test match in Mumbai. Last day of the week was Little Tibet due to observance of Muharram, but remember Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and UPA Chairperson Sonia Gandhi will inaugurate country's first all-women Bharatiya Mahila Bank in Mumbai on November 19th. Business Desk, DD News.
This is the second week after Diwali and the hangover was evident on the markets throughout the week. Remember, pre-Diwali period saw markets climbing to their all-time high levels, but last 2 weeks haven't been so good. Of the 8 trading sessions since Muhurat trading, 7 sessions have seen markets closing in red. The markets were closed today due to observance of Muharram. More in this report on how markets traded throughout the week.
On Monday, the market continued last week's losing streak. The hangover was written on the face of the market. Sensex closed at 20,491 level, down 175 points. Nifty closed below the crucial 6,100 level. This was the 5th day of consecutive fall for the markets since Muhurat trading. On Tuesday, Sensex dropped by 209 points to 20,282. The broad-based National Stock Exchange Index Nifty fell by 61 points to 6,018, dragged by stocks of metal, power and banking sectors. Rupee also fell by 47 paise and settled at 63.71 against the US dollar. Wednesday, the markets continued the fall. Sensex slipped by around 88 points to close at 20,194, its lowest level since October 8. Nifty also ended below the crucial 6,000 level. The negative news like rising inflation and falling rupee were the chief cause of markets losing the steam this week. And finally, it was Thursday when the bull finally came under the control of the market, thanks largely to the little pep talk by rockstar Governor Raghuram Rajan. The Reserve Bank said the current account deficit in 2013-14 will be $56 billion, much lower than the quantum projected earlier.
I'm especially happy about the 13.5% increase in dollar exports since last October, the reduction in imports by 14.5%, and the dramatic reduction in the trade deficit by 48%. Our estimate now is that the current account deficit for this year will be about $56 billion, less than 3% of GDP, and $32 billion less than last year.
The BSE Sensex gained 205 points up to close at 20,399, while Nifty ended at 6,056 level, up 67 points. Friday, the markets were closed due to the observance of Muharram. Hopefully, bulls will be back next week. Business Desk, DD News.
Time for a short break, but after the break, a special conversation with a guest from across the border.
एक तरफ कोई देश की इज्जत के लिए जान दे रहा है, तो दूसरी तरफ कोई देश की इज्जत को नीलाम कर रहा है। एक तरफ कोई हमारी संस्कृति की परवरिश कर रहा है, तो दूसरी तरफ कोई उस संस्कृति का अपमान कर रहा है। एक तरफ कोई इस देश के नाम पर कालिख लगा रहा है, तो दूसरी तरफ कोई मेहनत और ईमानदारी से उसी नाम को संवार रहा है। आप किस तरफ हैं? देश का सर झुकाने की तरफ या फक्र से उसे उठाने की तरफ? गर्व कीजिए अपने भारतीय होने पर। टेक प्राइड इन बीइंग एन इंडियन।
Welcome back. The Federation of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the apex industry body in Pakistan, has said that it wants their government to accord the most favored nation status to India as soon as possible. They hope trade can pave way for greater cooperation between both the countries. Also, Pakistan's private sector body said that war on terror and the scourge of Taliban has cost Pakistan $100 billion. More in this conversation. With me is Mr. Zubair Ahmad Malik. He is the chairman of the Federation of Pakistan's Chamber of Commerce, in a sense, leading voice of private sector in Pakistan. Sir, welcome to Doordarshan News, the national broadcaster of the country. So my first question is, the ITPO has started, the trade fair has started. How many companies from Pakistan are participating in the fair?
This year we have about 87 participants from Pakistan, and we have a complete separate pavilion by Pakistan, and it's number 6 at the IITF.
It's the most favored nation. It's an issue which has been discussed a lot. The Pakistani government a year back promised that India will be given. What's the view of the private sector of Pakistan over this issue?
I think I gave it very clearly on the dais that India should be accorded this MFN status immediately without any further delay.
So, have you asked your government somehow?
Definitely we have talked with our government, and I'm sure they will do it. The present government and even the previous government. The elections came, the tenure was over, the things got a bit delayed.
Question to you, so what message will you give to the governments of India and Pakistan over this trade issue?
I think the message is very clear that we have to have peace and prosperity in the South Asian region. And India and Pakistan are two important countries, who can lead or mar the SAARC agenda. So it is very important that India and Pakistan should have a cordial trade relations. And we have also declared in the private sector in Pakistan, FPCCI, FICCI and SAARC chamber, we all believe that trade cannot be held hostage to other political developments, and where we totally commit that we have to find a peaceful solution, and there has to be a political dialogue. But trade should take the lead to bring the peace and prosperity in this region. I think trade is the only hope which can bind and unite the people of both the countries, and which will benefit both the economies.
Sir, but don't you think that trade gets hit first when there is some problem? It's like 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. Like 2012 will be the best year probably on Indo-Pakistan trade relations, but 2013 was not so good, I believe.
No, 2013 is still in progress. We had elections in 2013. You are having also elections here. So there are phases in the nations, and both sides, unfortunate, but we have to go by, let the new government come in India as well. But before that, MFN status should not be held because there is a new government coming into India. Because that cannot be a bargaining chip.
So my other question is on Pakistan. What's the status of Pakistan's economy currently today?
The economy is not on very good footing. Let me admit it right now. There are a number of factors for it. We are facing energy crisis, and that's another area where India can supplement our efforts in the energy sector.
So my last question to you is, Pakistan has been facing lots of problems, including the scourge of the Taliban, if I say so. How much it has cost Pakistan's economy?
Very heavily. Let me tell you, this war on terror was never our war in the first place. But today it has become our war. This scourge has to be halted. We have to face. Otherwise, it's going to spill into other countries. And that we don't want.
So can you give me some estimate of how much it has cost to the Pakistani economy?
My knowledge, it's around about $100 billion up till now. And it's a very heavy price for a developing country like mine to pay for it.
Thank you so much. So that was leading voices from Pakistan talking exclusively to Doordarshan News. With camera person Aluwalia, Sidhant Sibal, DD News, New Delhi. Time for a short break. After the break, a special story on two of the world's most precious diamonds.
सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की, चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। पल 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 रोशनी जो मिली स्कूल की, जगमगाओगे तुम बन के तारे।
सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की, चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। पल 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 रोशनी जो मिली स्कूल की, जगमगाओगे तुम बन के तारे।
कॉपी और किताबें सारी
स्कूल देगा, स्कूल देगा,
यूनिफॉर्म भी तुम्हारी।
स्कूल देगा, स्कूल देगा।
स्कूल अब घर से दूर नहीं है,
कम हो गए फासले,
पहुंचोगे स्कूल के गेट पर तुम।
थोड़ा सा भी जो चले,
प्यार और नरमी से तुमको पढ़ाएंगे, टीचर है ऐसे भले।
सच 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 प्रीत अब है यही स्कूल की, कभी टीचर ना बच्चों को मारे। सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की, चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। लाइब्रेरी में जो पढ़ना हो,
स्कूल देगा, स्कूल देगा,
दोपहर में खाना भी तो,
और स्कूल देगा, स्कूल देगा। पढ़ना भी है और है खेलना भी है, दोनों बातें यहाँ।
ध्यान उनका भी पूरा रखा गया है, ये जान ले लड़कियां।
वो जो पढ़ेंगी, जो आगे बढ़ेंगी, तो बदलेगा हिंदुस्तान।
घर 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 शिक्षा जब पहुंचेगी स्कूल की, शक्ति पाएंगे निर्बल भी सारे। टन 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 सुनो घंटी बजी स्कूल की, चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे। चलो स्कूल तुमको पुकारे।
शिक्षा मेरा अधिकार है।
ए मक्खी मेरी पतंग है। तेरी कहाँ से हो गई? दे दे नहीं तो। नहीं तो क्या? नहीं तो मैं अपने बड़े भाई को बुला के लाऊंगा, वो तुझे छोड़ेगा नहीं। हाँ बुला ले, मैं भी किसी से डरता नहीं हूँ, मैं खुद अपना बड़ा भाई हूँ।
किसी और पे निर्भर क्यों हो, खुद ही स्ट्रॉन्ग बन जाओ। हर हफ्ते लो आयरन की सिर्फ एक नीली गोली। ये खून में आयरन की मात्रा बढ़ाए, अंदर से बाहर तक एकदम सॉलिड बनाए। सरकारी स्कूलों और आंगनबाड़ी केंद्रों में निःशुल्क उपलब्ध। सॉलिड बनो इंडिया, भारत सरकार की पहल।
Welcome back. $118 million, that is the combined auction price of two of the world's most precious gems. The pink star made a record $83 million at an auction. and an equally rare orange diamond sold for more than $35 million. The huge show of wealth follows equally record-breaking sales in art world. Early this week, auction of Francis Bacon's painting sold for $142 million. More in this report.
$118 million, the combined auction price of two of the world's most precious gems. The Pink Star made a record $83 million, including commission fees, $22 million more than expected. The flawless diamond weighs 59.6 carats and took 2 years to cut and polish. The Pink Star was cut and polished from a 132.5 carat rough diamond mined by De Beers somewhere in Africa in 1999. It was first sold in 2007 and the seller wished to remain anonymous.
Amongst the rarest of all stones, and they're finally, I think, reaching the levels where the price is matching the rarity.
The auction came just days after an equally rare orange diamond sold for more than $35 million. At 14.82 carats, it's twice the size of the previous orange diamond record holder. The huge show of wealth follows equally record-breaking sales in the art world. An Andy Warhol painting has just sold for $105 million, breaking the artist's own record. It followed an auction for Francis Bacon's painting, which sold for $142.4 million. Business Desk, DD News.
No wonder diamonds are girls' best friend. On to another story. 4 World Trade Center has become the first skyscraper to open at the site of NYC terror attack. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg cut the ribbon at 4 World Trade Center, marking the opening of the first building at the site where old World Trade Center was destroyed in the 9/11 terror attacks.
The first office tower at Ground Zero since the September 11, 2001 attacks that destroyed the World Trade Center opened on Wednesday. 4 World Trade Center marks a comeback for the Lower Manhattan site. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg led the opening ceremony for the smallest of the 4 main towers on the site, where 2,700 people died when hijacked airplanes crashed into the towers.
And as we open its doors, the site once again becomes a part of New York's continued growth, reconnected with the city that surrounds it and the people who live and work in this neighborhood.
The Japanese architect who designed 4 World Trade Center described the design concept.
We wanted to make a building that has a strong sculptural effect, but with a quiet presence.
The 72-story building stands empty at the moment, although 2 government agencies have signed leases for half of the building's space. Ultimately, the site will include 2 more office towers and some 550,000 square feet of retail space. Business Desk, DD News.
Time for repeat headlines. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram says economy will revive in the second half of current financial year, aims at 5 to 5.5% growth in the current fiscal. Pakistan's private sector asked the government to grant India most favoured nation status without delay, says peace and prosperity only way forward. New York reclaims 9/11 attack site. 4 World Trade Center becomes first skyscraper to open at the site of the New York terror attacks. And tale of 2 diamonds, the pink and the orange diamond, 2 of the world's most precious diamonds, sell for a combined sale price of $118 million. Well, that's all in this edition of Business Wrap. Thanks for watching. Have a nice and warm weekend. Namaskar.